Colin Kaepernick is still begging to play for the oppressive NFL. Secret Service agents had a little Salon shindig, and Gavin Newsom is shelling out $200K to have his picture taken. It's time for my losers of the week. Plus, Jillian Michaels is unafraid to call it like she sees it, and she joins me in just a bit. The show starts now. It's time for my losers of the week, and you know I had to start with an oldie but a goodie, Colin Kaepernick. I know you'll be shocked to hear this, but for the 8th year in a row, he is once again begging to be in the NFL.
It seems like the Olympic spirit has got to you as well. Obviously, the next Olympics is in LA. Will we see you play flag football in 2028?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be out there. We're going to work on some things, see if we can make it in there, but would love to be out there.
And will we see you play NFL again?
We're still training, still pushing. So hopefully we just got to get one of these team owners to open up.
He's honestly worse than Hillary Clinton at this point. He will just not go away, and his pick-me game is always sitting on ready. He told that Sky Sports reporter at the Olympics he's still training and pushing to keep himself ready if any coach or team should want an America-hating 36-year-old crybaby on their roster. I added that last part, but it's the truth. He also added he'd be open to competing on the flag football team in the 2028 Olympics, so it's obvious Kaepernick still thinks very highly of himself. But I still cannot figure out why he is so thirsty to be back in a sport and a league that he has on numerous occasions deemed oppressive and even akin to a slave trade. For a lot of football fans, Kaepernick is single-handedly responsible for ruining the fan experience. Sports used to be unifying, and he ended that with his BLM, anti-cop, anti-America pity party. Give it up, man. It's over. Take a seat, maybe a knee. Moving on to another giant disappointment, the United States Secret Service. Not only did their institution nearly allow for the assassination of a former president and current candidate, now this. You are watching surveillance footage of what appears to be a Secret Service agent covering the porch camera while other law enforcement or security officers entered a Massachusetts salon without permission. They used the restroom, they helped themselves to a bowl of candy, and looks like they just had a grand old time working a Kamala Harris event in Pittsfield. Now, the Secret Service apparently called the salon owner to apologize for the incident, but weirdly, Secret Service is still denying its agents broke into the salon. I guess their agent just covered up the camera for fun. But in a statement, a U.S. Secret Service spokesperson said, the U.S. Secret Service works closely with our partners in the business community to carry out our protective and investigative missions. The Secret Service has since communicated with the affected business owner. We hold these relationships in the highest regard, and our personnel would not enter or instruct our partners to enter a business without the owner's permission. Okay, what happened then? It doesn't make it all better in my opinion, but whatever. You know, you'd think after the scandals this agency has had over the last month, they would really button it up, but apparently not. But I'll tell you who is buttoned up, or buttoned down, rather, and looking good. California Governor Gavin Newsom. I guess that's what $200,000 in taxpayer dollars spent on a ritzy vanity photographer will get you. No kidding. Newsom's office hired a British former war photographer who worked for George W. Bush and Barack Obama as his director of photography. California is failing, but don't worry. Your governor is getting his senior portraits taken at your expense, so at least the dumpster fire will be shot in good lighting. The homeless and unaffordable capital of the U.S., and your governor is taking vanity shots with a professional photog. Newsom is such a narcissistic clown, it's no wonder his state is hemorrhaging residents like my next guest who wisely fled California. Joining me now is Keeping It Real podcast host Jillian Michaels. All right, Jillian, I know you don't live in California anymore, but are you happy that Gavin Newsom has a professional photographer to keep him looking good?
I got to be honest, I did not know about this until I was invited to join you this morning. So I can't speak to it. I haven't done homework on it. But my issues with Gavin Newsom's job as governor go far deeper than that. And a perfect example would be the fact that California spent $24 billion to solve the homelessness crisis and has nothing to show for it. And it's believed that that $24 billion vanished into the hands of corrupt CEOs who run NGOs that were meant to solve the problem and didn't. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I find unforgivable, especially in a state where people pride themselves on empathy. Leaving people on the streets is not empathy. Not solving this problem is not empathy. That's the stuff really that just rubs me the wrong way deeply. But if the photo thing happened, that's also disturbing. I'm with you.
Well, speaking of the photos and the videos, I think it was last week that we saw Gavin Newsom, of course, with a camera crew there, and he was picking up trash on the side of the road, cleaning up the homeless encampments, and he wanted the world to know he is serious about the problem. Yeah, right. Again, he loves him some him.
But that's all exactly the same issue, right? It's all about him. You're exactly right. So as this crisis has been going crazy for arguably a decade now, as I'm solving it, I'm fixing it, I'm solving it, no solution, and he's being crucified for no solution and losing 24 billion, then it becomes a photo op of here's me getting my hands dirty. And it's like, buddy, just stop the posturing and get down to the bottom of what's wrong in your state. But that is exactly it. Everything is a photo op and nothing is getting solved and everything is getting worse. That's California in a nutshell. Truly, it really is. And I'm upset about it because it was my home for 47 years.
Right.
You know, frustrating. Very frustrating.
The homeless crisis is driving out a lot of people because it used to be that there was homelessness in downtown LA, Skid Row. You'd see it here and there, maybe on the side of the freeway. But now it's really creeped into every area and you really can't avoid it anymore. I mean, it's on pretty much every sidewalk. You see a tent, you see some kind of encampment, you see somebody that's either passed out or maybe they're trying to panhandle. It's not avoidable anymore. And a lot of these people have come from other states because I know that California is hospitable for the homeless population. So there's really no amount of money that's going to solve this problem. But I can't figure out why Californians keep voting for Democrats when they've seen how bad it's gotten and it's not getting any better.
You asked me a really good question, but you got to be prepared for the answer. And here's the answer. Both sides have extremes. So on the right, you're horrified by the extreme of medicalizing children who are questioning their gender, right? And a host of other things. And I see it and I understand it and I agree with you. Conversely, when I speak to my friends on the left, and I have a lot, as mentioned, I grew up in California, there are extremes on the right, and they're reading stories about women in Texas who have ectopic pregnancies that weren't given the care that they needed, and then their fallopian tubes burst and they almost died, and they're saying that's barbaric. What does the right not see about this? So the reality is both sides are outraged about the extremes. Nobody's really acknowledging it. And nobody's coming to the middle to try to find solutions. And we're not going to win. Neither side is going to get everything you want. So come to the table and start talking about the bigger problems. So on the left, they're like, well, you know, this takes priority over an open border or homelessness that's out of control. And that's honestly, that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, and I understand that abortion is going to be a big election issue, but what I don't understand for Californians is this. California is never going to ban abortion. So people that's their number one issue in California and their state is going to hell in a handbasket and they're like, but we are afraid that they're going to outlaw abortion. They're never going to outlaw abortion in California. You're fine. But what they might do if you elect a Republican is they might clean up your streets. They might put bad people behind bars and keep them there. They might lower your taxes. You might not have a primary and a secondary tax on gasoline. You might not have an electric vehicle mandate. Those are the things that I don't understand. Like, I get that they're worried about abortion, and maybe if you're in a state like Ohio, that might be an election issue for you because it's actually hanging in the balance. But in California, when you talk to your friends, do you tell them, hey, listen, they're never going to take away your precious abortions in this state?
They'll point to things like trying to take away IVF, or if a 14-year-old is incested, she now has to go to another state to get an abortion, to things that are pretty barbaric and draconian. And I have to agree completely there. I think the answer is somewhere in the middle, and we need to come to the table and discuss it. But that begets a bigger concern. So that bigger concern is, where does it stop? So let me show you the ironies here. People on the right want freedom. Now, people on the left want freedom, but they have a hard time hearing your version of what that looks like. So, for example, it's my body, my rules, and then it becomes, where does it stop? Does it go back after gay marriage? Does it go back after gays adopting kids? What are they going to take away from us next? Whereas on the right, I think there's equal concern about freedom. So people are wanting the same things. They just disagree on what those things are and how to get there. And honestly, that is what's happening. And I'm saying this to try to help people understand and gain some empathy, because from that position of goodwill, you can then have your position heard, if that makes
Right.
sense.
No, it does. So I've been really frustrated on social media recently because, as somebody who is a Trump supporter and will be a Trump voter, I'm very, very concerned because I see with the way this is going, a lot can change between now and then. But I believe we're going to have a president, Kamala Harris. I'm very concerned about that. But what I find frustrating is you're kind of mentioning these echo chambers. So when I post something on Twitter X and I say, listen, I'm very concerned if Trump doesn't change the way he's speaking and he doesn't become some version of more presidential, that he's going to lose this election. And then I have all these people that are hardcore Trump supporters telling me I'm full of crap and I don't know what I'm talking about and Trump's doing a great job. But the problem that they're missing is that they are Trump supporters. I want to know what independence.
Just said this to my wife.
Yeah, I want to know what independence need.
Yep, here's what we need. We need exactly what you said. So I'll give you a perfect example, right? So he went to that speaking engagement with the Black journalists, and he fell right into the trap and got race baited and walked right into it. And you're screaming at your screen like, no, 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 no. And it's like right into it. And the answer was, you need to ask that question to President Biden. This has nothing to do with me. I showed up here today to answer your questions about my policy. And he walks right into it. The Joe Rogan thing, I'm like, no, please don't make an enemy of Joe.
Yeah.
It's like, because everything that you're talking about is the problem. And I'm not a huge JD Vance fan. Like, I really am not a Tim Walz fan.
No.
So to me, I would have loved a far more neutral pick, like maybe a Tulsi Gabbard, maybe an RFK. I like all of his health policies there. Like maybe who was a bit more neutral for the independents, the libertarians. Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree with you more. You're totally right. And this is the argument that I have with my wife, who is a hardcore Trumper. And I'm like, honey, he already has the base. It's not the base you're fighting for. Don't you see? It's the people in the middle. Don't you see it? And it's like, Mama, you're fighting the good fight, because it is all about trying to get people to move off of their stump and be more realistic about how to approach this and what's actually at stake.
And it's the independents that need to be won, because this election is going to be won on the margins. So I don't think, and he did it again yesterday, he talked about a lot of policy yesterday at a rally, which I appreciate, but then he also said Kamala's dumb, she's so dumb, and he went on to that thing, and I'm thinking to myself, you might make your crowd laugh, but here's the problem. Anybody that is considering who to vote for and they really are in the middle, Trump calling Kamala dumb, they're not going to all of a sudden have this light bulb moment and go, well, Trump said she's dumb, so I'm going to vote for Trump. They're not.
You're so right.
And I'm worried about that.
So right.
And also, the Kamala team is actually playing this thing strategically smart, because if she were to go out there and she were to be a radical, she's running away from radical. If she were to go out there and say, ban fracking, Medicaid, Medicare for all, and abolish ICE, if she were to go out and do that, she would lose, because she wouldn't be getting the independence. But right now, she's just running away from her record, which I think is BS, but it's also strategically smart. Trump, I fear, is going in the other direction. He's playing to the base, which, to your point, he already had. If you were instructing Trump, and you are, I believe, one of those people that's kind of in the middle, what would you tell Trump to do from now until November to win you over?
Be a class act, dude. It's the erratic behavior. I wouldn't call him dude. Sorry. That's a California thing that stuck around. It's the erratic behavior that make people not like you and not trust you. And when you alienate someone like Joe Rogan, who is arguably one of the two most powerful men in media, that's a bad judgment call. Calm down, take the high road. And to be honest, They're taking pages from his book, right? They took the whole we're not going to tax tips thing. Take this page from Michelle Obama's book. When they go low, go high. That's what the independents want to see. They want to see control. They want to see calm. They want to see class, and they want to see strength. That's what they want. Talk about your policies, because that is something that you have won over a lot of people in the middle on. But the truth of the matter is, when Kamala is listening, right, and she's going, okay, the independents are pretty stressed out about all the crazy over here. Let me address that. And it's appealing. You got to do that. You got to do it. You couldn't be more right. I'm being honest with you. Could not be more right.
And I also
right isn't correct.
Yeah. Well, I'm also right too, but on the right. Another thing that I find a little bit concerning is that I hear from a lot of my obviously conservative Republican friends, Trump supporters, that say, yes, but the media is not fair. But yes, this is unfair. No, I get it. It's not fair, but it's never going to be fair. So crying about things being fair, like, listen, they're going to send out mail-in ballots. Guess what? The media is going to be on Kamala's side. Hollywood is. Academia is going to be on her side. It's not going to be fair. So this whole thing of like, it should be more fair. It's not going to be. Is Kamala going to come debate on Fox News? Probably not. Is that fair? No. But that's the situation that we're dealt. So we have to deal with it. And when I look at Kamala, the thing that worries me most is that she is going out on this high right now and she's smiling. And although it's, to me, phony, a lot of people like somebody that makes them feel better. When you watch Kamala and the way that she's performed over the last few weeks, do you think those independents, do you think they're buying what she's selling?
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, does she mean it? I've stopped to actually go, well, hold on. Could she change her position on this? Is she really going to try to actually change that? Like, is this going to be different? And then Trump is coming off as a bit unhinged in these rants. And you're just like, I'm a policy person. I really don't care, right? I want somebody who is a good human. I really do. But at the end of the day, if I don't get a person that speaks to me personally, I'm going to look at the policies. And that's what I think he needs to focus on. Do you have better policies or not? Stop getting into the name calling. And I'll be honest with you about attacking strong women. When he was calling Nikki Haley bird brain, I hated it. I looked at my wife. I'm like, I hate this. I hate it. I don't like it. It's a turnoff for me. This is a brilliant, accomplished woman. I don't agree with all of her positions. I really don't want war. That freaked me out sometimes. And I would have looked further into that. But don't call her bird brain. It's a turnoff. It's a turnoff.
Well, and to the JD Vance point, I've obviously been very critical. I think that he's an all right guy. I think he was a bad choice for a running mate. I don't think he appeals to anybody that's need to win. I think that my choice would have been like a Marco Rubio. I think Marco Rubio is more of a statesman. And it's not because, and people say, oh, well, it's just because he checks the box. I don't care what he's Hispanic, Latino. I don't care about that. I care that he comes off like a statesman and he comes off as somebody that maybe is relatable to folks and he makes them feel better. And people say, well, it's not about your feelings. Well, guess what? A lot of people vote on their feelings. So if you don't think people vote on their emotions and their feelings, you haven't been paying attention. But I'm wondering too, and he's moved away from it, so I do give JD Vance credit. He's moved away from the childless cat lady thing, and that was a big problem. I'm glad he's moved away. He seems to be getting better. But I am just concerned about suburban women because I'm wondering how they're going to vote. And I think abortion. They hate him. They do. Okay, so what have you heard? What is their main problem? Is it abortion? Is it character? Okay. Is it tone?
It's all of it. It's all of it. And the thing is, I don't like him either. And I find myself saying, yep, not a fan. You're totally right. I am not a fan. And it's the walk back too, which doesn't work. These are your positions. You made them clear. You know, a young girl gets raped. She shouldn't get an abortion because two wrongs don't make a right. It's like, oh my God, what in the hell is wrong with you? Then it's Trump's Hitler. No, Trump is the second coming. You don't trust the guy because not only are some of the things he said just stupid, leave women alone. You don't understand their fertility issues. Shut up. Just shut up, dude. And then there was the comment about postmenopausal women and what they're good for. That's now circulating and people are just vomiting that back up. It's like, he was the wrong guy. He was the wrong guy. When it was JD Vance, I was like, oh God, no. And Marco Rubio, you would have been like, yeah, I like Marco Rubio. He's a reasonable guy. I like him in Florida. I mean, but I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
You're asking me and I'm telling you. And as a person in the middle, like you just want common sense. I don't care if I get it from the right and I don't care if I get it from the left. The party that can deliver me honesty and common sense and results, that isn't a puppet for all these big corporations that are buying their presidency or their position in public office. Who is that person, right? Find that person for me. You've got my vote.
Yeah, we need to be talking more to independents like yourself, and I think that needs to be the goal of the Trump campaign moving forward. I'd like to see him win. I think if the strategy continues as is, I think that November is going to be pretty rough. Last thing I do want to ask you about, though, because this was obviously a huge controversy, and it's still a huge controversy, is everything that went down at the Olympics with the boxers, the two boxers, and this is such a gray area, and we have to be careful the way we talk about this. Well,
is it a gray area?
It is.
I don't find it to be a gray area at all.
Okay.
So here's the thing. These boxers are DSD, which means they have differences in sexual development. Now, here's what that means. They're male. Okay, so when they're born, they don't have male genitalia. That's the DSD component. It's also called 12-year-old penis. And the long story short is that when they hit puberty, they then begin to develop the genitalia of the male chromosome, the Y chromosome, the male body, right? Now, that said, okay, let's remove the transgender component of this because these two athletes are not transgender. They're saying that they're female. You've got two independent tests done by two labs that are separate from the International Boxing Association that found a Y chromosome. That's male, okay? So now then, why did they not contest these findings twice? A simple cheek swab will solve the problem, will answer the question. They didn't contest it. And in fact, Emain started and then withdrew the contest. They were denied being able to compete in Worlds. Now, the Olympics is like, well, I mean, the passport says female, and they've been able to compete before. So how about this? How about you do a cheek swab? Really simple. And then you can negate the entire conversation. And I get the empathy component. Women in particular love to show up and be empathetic for the underdog. And because transgender athletes are the underdog, there are significantly less of them. They have struggled quite a bit with gender dysphoria and what brought them to become transgender. I get the empathy. And if that stood alone, meaning your right to marry, your right to equal health, health care, all the rights that we all enjoy, you should have every one, and I will fight for you to have every single right. All day long, I will go to war over your ability to be equal. However, when your personal choices affect the freedoms of another, now you've got to apply that empathy equally to both parties, be realistic about what the data says, and show up to the table to discuss it. So these athletes are men. They're not transgender. And the fact that everybody is fighting for the fact that they're women, does that then mean you would find it outrageous if they weren't? Yeah. Because it's like, no. Nothing to see here. These are biological females. Are you implying then that you're fighting for this position so aggressively because if they weren't biological females, it would be outrageously unsafe and unfair? This is the stuff on the left that I'm like, you guys got to stop. You got to stop. You got to stop. The earth is not flat, and XY chromosome, not the same as XX chromosome. Stop it. Stop. You look crazy. I can't.
Well, what do you think, in just the remaining time I have, what do you think about this potential lawsuit against Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling over cyberbullying? One of the boxers is putting forth, threatening legal action against the two. Obviously, it makes people scared to talk. Yeah, it makes people scared to talk, though.
You got it. It sure does. Luckily, this individual has gone after billionaires. Yeah. So they don't care. I mean, you kind of, pick someone like me and I'm like, oh, this is going to cost me so much money to deal with this. And which maybe now I've invited the devil. Maybe I have. But the reality is that you take a cheek swab from an independent lab and you have an XX chromosome, I will come and I will beg your forgiveness. You have my word. I consider it done.
Yeah. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's a chilling effect on all of this. But I appreciate you always being willing to put it out there. You're obviously unafraid, and I appreciate that. A lot of good advice you gave today to the Trump campaign and to conservatives that want to see normalcy be brought back. You have to win an election first. So I appreciate you being so honest about that. I've been trying to get it out there, and of course I take arrows from my own side for it, but it's an important lesson. Sometimes some tough love is what people need to get them across the finish line, and that's okay. I always appreciate you being on. Thank you so much for being fearless in everything that you do, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Right back at you. Thank you for allowing me to be on and have these difficult talks with you. I respect the hell out of you for it.
I appreciate you so much. I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks so much. All right, folks, that does it for this episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I'll see you right back here at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Also, I will be on Outnumbered tomorrow on Fox News, of course, noon Eastern. And as far as this show goes, you can catch full episode of this show on outkick.com and, of course, Fox Nation at your leisure. Also, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I will be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.